Long ago, fire existed long before people. Lightning and volcanoes sent flame across the wild world, carving black scars into grass and forest. At some point, our ancestors stepped closer. They learned not just to watch the blaze, but to keep a spark alive. This is the story of how a living force became a human tool, and how that decision set the path towards civilization. Fire was never a human invention. Natural events, lightning strikes, volcanic eruptions, created flames across ancient landscapes long before hominins appeared. Large fires opened up meadows and stripped bark from trees. Animals fled, grazing patterns shifted, and scorched soil became a new kind of habitat. For early hominins, these burned places were opportunities, exposed roots, singed bones, and animals startled into the open. Watching a wildfire taught lessons: where to find food after a burn, where predators would not linger, and how heat changed the world around them. But opportunity alone is not mastery. To change history, people had to learn to carry, protect, and renew the flame. Archaeology reads the past in burned earth. At Wonderwork Cave in South Africa, sediments hold microscopic ash and charred bone in layers that are nearly 1,000,000 years old, buried where people lived and worked. Farther north, at Gesher Beno Yaakov in Israel, clusters of burnt seeds, wood, and flint suggest repeated hearths dating to about 790,000 years ago. Around the world, from Africa to Asia and later into Europe, archaeologists find patterns. Ash, concentrated in the same spots, burned tools mixed with food remains, and traces of heat-treated stone. Those patterns are the difference between an accidental scorch and an ember someone cared for night after night. Not every burn patch proves human control. Scientists must rule out natural causes, compare layers, and look for repeated evidence of human activity. Taken together, though, these sites sketch a long arc. Early hominins were moving from opportunistic use to habitual stewardship of fire. The candidates for those early firekeepers are members of the genus Homo. Homo erectus, sometimes called H. ergaster in Africa, moved across continents, hunted, carried tools, and lived in ways that make controlled fire plausible. Their bodies show adaptations for long-distance travel and endurance, and their stone technology suggests growing capacity to manipulate materials. Still, the origin of controlled fire was probably not a single event with one discoverer. Instead, it was a skill learned, lost, reinvented, and passed along. A human habit that likely emerged in different places at different times. Once hominins learned to keep fire, the consequences were profound. Fire gave warmth and protection from predators. A guarded flame changed the night from a place of danger into a place of gathering. Cooking transformed diets. Raw tubers and tough meat became softer, tastier, and easier to digest. That nutritional shift freed energy that likely helped fuel larger brains and new social behaviors. Fire reshaped technology as well. Stones could be heat-treated for sharper edges, clay could be hardened into pottery, and many thousands of years later, metal could be smelted and forged. Even the environment changed. Repeated burning altered plant communities and created landscapes that favored certain species. So the control of a spark was not just practical, it was transformative, biological, cultural, and ecological. Interpreting the evidence is tricky, and science advances by testing the hard cases. Some sites that once seemed to show early hearths have been re-examined and reinterpreted. New methods, microanalysis of sediment, improved dating techniques, careful spatial mapping, sharpen the picture. Researchers ask, is the charcoal in place, or was it moved? Is bone burning consistent with cooking or with a natural wildfire? Evidence builds slowly, piece by piece, and debates refine both data and method. The result is not a single neat discovery but a patient accumulation of clues that point toward growing mastery of fire across many landscapes and generations. We may never meet the first person who sheltered a spark, but the act itself is a shared invention, an example of how people learned to reshape their world. Around flames, stories were told, recipes were learned, tasks were shared. The hearth became a social engine, as important for the mind as it was for the body. Over millennia, that tiny decision, to tend, to protect, to pass along a glowing ember, multiplied into technologies we hardly recognize as related. Ovens and forges, kilns and furnaces, lanterns and engines. Fire gave us control over night and weather, food and metal, danger and comfort. It helped make our species more adaptable, more inventive, and more connected. Names are lost in the deep past, but the legacy of that first careful tending is clear. From ember to engine, the story of fire is the story of us, curious, resourceful, and forever changed by the light we chose to keep. If this story moved you, subscribe for more journeys into the origins of our everyday world.